long since I've been up there.
It's a heck of a lot cheaper. Someone was telling me that Cedar Point is, well, you guys were saying yesterday, $50, $60.
Yeah, they
That's
should.
expensive. Oh,
Yeah, they should.
All right, we are officially at hours, so I would like to call this meeting to order of the Seneca County Board of Commissioners for June 10th. We stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Wagner, to lead us in prayer.
Okay. Lord, we thank you for another day that you've given us. We ask for your guidance and direction in all our decision-making today. In Jesus' name, amen.
amen.
And roll call, please. Commissioner Stacy? Here. Commissioner Zoller?
Here.
Commissioner Wagner?
Here.
We'll have the signing of the journal, and then I'd like to accept a motion as well with that to approve the DVD recording of our previous session from Tuesday, June 3rd, and that written index.
I'll move.
Seconded.
Been moved in second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. Thank you. All right, we'll begin with, are there any adjustments to the agenda?
I'd
Oh, sorry.
like to put the fair board on. We talked last week about
Okay.
bringing that up today,
Yep.
the request.
Couple things I'd like to add on there. I'd like to have some discussions about regional planning and the issues at hand in that department. Want to talk about the mold and water conditions in the RTA, and contractually as we look to move funds over to our capital fund and contract with taking care of that. And then kind of an update on a meeting that I had with SIDEC, reference to Justice Center.
Okay.
Did I say that right? A meeting that I attended. Sounded like a meeting that I had? No, meeting I attended.
I'll put SIDEC meeting update. How's that sound? Under old business. All right. And we did old business at 10:30. Okay. All right. Beginning with the old business, let's start with the Fair Board, Jeff.
Okay, I gave you folks a copy of Mark Zimmerman's estimates, or more estimates, a little more than estimates. He did some drawings for the 3 sections of the Fair Board that would be repaved. And I talked to Calvin, at the president of the Fair Board. I thought Davey Hoover was going to be here today, but he is in Las Vegas today, so he's not here.
Maybe he's gambling to pay for the whole shooting match.
Maybe, yeah,
Whole day.
maybe. They would like to do the whole thing this year. Depends on how much money comes in. If I told him I thought our conversation was somewhere around 50% last week or 2 weeks ago. I don't remember when we talked about it. And he was hoping that the Farm Bureau would throw in a little bit too, which would make it possible for them to do that sometime after the fair. The total of the 3 sections there comes up to $49,402 in Mark's figures. I guess I'm recommending we pay half of that and just give it as a donation. Let them handle all the bidding, all the work on it, and that's my recommendation.
Do we do, if they are only gonna have money, say maybe for doing one section, even if it's only half, they come up with, do we give them the full half of all this and ask them to hold it, or can we do that until they're able to do all of it, or do you think they'll?
We can do whatever we want. We can, if you want to. I think the one thing I want to stay away from a little bit, if we can, is saying it. I don't want to say this. We want to give it to them just as under their agriculture donation. If we start, we know it's for the road. They know it's for the road, but we put our money specifically for the road. Then it throws them into all of our rules and regulations, I'm afraid, with the prevailing wage and the bidding. And they have their requirements of their own that they have to follow.
Sure.
Which may be similar.
My recommendation there is if they decide to do, it's in 3 phases, and just so the public knows, the entranceway of the fairground is 1 section. Section 2 is from the end of the entranceway to the end of the Civil Defense Building would be Section 2. Section 3 is there's a little area in front of the Civil Defense Building and the Farm Bureau. My suggestion is whatever they elect to do, if they only want to do one section, then we would give them 50% of just that section,
Okay.
not of the entire project, only for what sections that they're willing to contribute to 50% to. If they decide they can do the whole project, then we would be contributing roughly 25,000.
50% of
Yeah,
whatever.
50% of whatever it is, but not that we're gonna give them 25,000 and they'd elect to only do
Right.
one section, which is 20,000. That would be my recommendation there.
Okay. So should we do a motion now to do that match? Or would you recommend, I mean, do we need something?
I think you could do a resolution next week if we just decided what we wanted to do here. They have a
Okay.
meeting tonight, they could be informed and know. Is that, if we do whatever we want to do, that's what you
Yeah, I think
guys-
we need to talk to them just to see where they're, and then
Okay.
we can vote on it that way.
Okay.
But I think as a general, if they're gonna have a meeting tonight, as a general understanding, it sounds to me that the commissioners are willing to support 50% of the
Yeah.
entire project. However, they decide to break it down, so at least that gives them the information, they can go in and then hash it out, whatever they wanna do.
What time
Even
is
though
it
it's not a
tonight?
full resolution yet.
7:30 till probably 11.
I mean, and we do utilize
Goes
it
forever.
on a daily basis and year-round, those portions of the drive, so I think it's the right thing to do, so.
We simply have an easement, they own it, but we
Yeah.
use the parking lot, we use the road, yeah, on a daily basis.
so.
Okay, I will let them know that then. Thank you.
All right. The RTA building and.
Well, okay, let's
Capital money?
start out, our fellow commissioners, I'm sure you've got wind yesterday that our Director of Regional Planning will be leaving that post and going into the private industry as of the end of June here. I've had conversations with Jill Griffin, and the thing that's hanging out there is the application for the CDBG grant, and she assured me, and I'm certainly very appreciative of that she would finish that grant prior to her leaving, so that way we don't have that outstanding there. She's gonna leave on the 27th, the grant application has to be in by the 20th, and she assured me that she would not let us high and dry on that, and I was very appreciative of that, because that allows us that we could do things in more of an orderly manner. We're gonna try to have we're gonna have an executive meeting next week of the Regional Planning Board, and then a meeting of the whole. Try to do it maybe Monday's the executive and then meeting, and then Wednesday the meeting of the whole, where then we can let it out for, put ads in and hopefully receive, resumes of qualified people that could handle that. So that's kind of where we stand at with that whole process.
Okay. That was the regional planning thing. Did you have something with the RTA building as well?
Yeah, the RTA building, we are today going to be appropriating some additional capital projects funds, which would allow us to enter into a contract with Klaus Construction for not to exceed $40,000 in potential repairs and remediation issues of the mold and the potential leakage. The water infiltration there. We've discussed this in the past, and in discussions with Mr. Klaus, we need to make sure that contractually we have in there that we're not holding him liable. He's doing this project as best of his ability to stop the leakage, but there is no guarantees on it, and the contract is not to exceed $40,000. So when we write this contract up, we need to make sure that we get them in there so that in future years, when there's new commissioners here, and if these repairs don't completely eliminate the problem, that we have no recourse to go back on them and say, hey, you fixed it, but there's still leaking there. So I just want to make sure that we have it perfectly clear. He reluctantly will accept the project. It's not something that he's relishing to take on, but because he's a good community citizen and has done a lot of other projects for the county. He's willing to take it on, so I just want to make sure that there's no potential liabilities for him down the road.
Okay, so the dollar figure is up to 40? I was thinking it was just under that, but like 30, or 30, this 32 is just a transfer that we have a resolution on the agenda for.
There's some money in the account already.
Yeah,
it's
so I
up
think
to
the
40.
bid was 39,700, so it's under 40,000. But it may not be that as he gets involved with it, he understands it's a not to exceed bid, and it may be less than that if he can get it done easier and blah, 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 blah. So I just want to make sure that we are perfectly clear, crystal clear on not holding him liable for anything. And he's a reputable contractor, and he certainly will do it to the best of his ability. But one of those issues when you get into leaks and water infiltration, I mean, it's a hornet's nest.
Right. All right, and
The,
then,
the last issue is, we had a meeting of the SIDEC board, the entire board, last Friday, and the recommendation is that we support a study that is being privately funded, and it will be, what's the right word, facilitated, or SIDEC will carry it out. And the study, the scope of the study is to look at the East Tower with a joint justice center of 54,000 square feet, which is 20,000 of the existing East Tower plus 34,000 behind it. So that encompasses 54,000 square feet. So, and then if that is not feasible, then we are looking at other non-justice center usages for the facility. And the reason we've got that is to bring everyone up to date. When we were conducting this study, we had a wish list, what we started out with the sheriff and the different county departments that would use that facility and the judges and so forth. The initial concept was 48,000 square feet plus the 18 of the annex. We went back to our bond council and realized that that was unaffordable. Then we went back as part of the study and downsized it. They come up with 40,000 square feet plus the 18 for the annex. We went back to our bond council. That was still unaffordable with the mayor, and I thought that was, we could afford from the county and the city. We went back a third time in the study, and we got to the point of 36,000 square feet plus 18 for the annex, and that was the point that the judges finally said, uncle. They can't go any lower than that, because they're not gonna, there's certain state mandates that the courts have to maintain certain sizes and certain separation and all this and all that. It got to that point, it was just uncle. They couldn't go any further. So that's why it is so critical. If we look at the combined justice center, if we look at the East Tower, which I strongly embrace, it has to include 54,000 square feet total of existing facility plus new facility. That is the same square footage what it would be at the, if the study determines that it's still the best place at the old courthouse. 50 or 36,000 plus the 18,000 for the annex. So that's a little bit complex there, but with SIDEC full board, it was unanimously approved that, again, I'm kind of repeating myself, but we look at a 54,000 one facility location of the East Tower, and if that doesn't find that it's feasible, then we want to look at other non-justice center usages for that grand old building. So that's just kind of an FYI.
And if other non-justice center uses, I hope, would not necessarily be county.
We're going to look at all options there.
Okay.
Of course, my preference, Commissioner Wagner, would be that we can renovate that grand old building and use it and have it as a tax-paying facility and not a tax burden facility. But that remains to be seen as the study comes forth.
okay. And the, Anything else for old business? Anybody else has? Okay. New business, before we begin there, I was just gonna put this at the end, I'm afraid I'll forget, because I forgot to add it anyway, but Christine Kunkel, her last name, the new person with ODNR was around on Thursday afternoon and caught me, and she said to make sure that I invited my fellow commissioners and staff, and there's all kinds of these out there, and anybody else, general public, is on, and this is just to the website, is all the information on here, which is paddle.ohiodnr.gov, that they are really promoting the scenic rivers across Ohio, so our Sandusky River is one of them, and they're doing a paddle for the locations, Sandusky River being one of them, on June 22nd. And if anybody's interested, you can go to the website, sign up, and it costs you nothing. They're gonna arrange for everything needed. They tell you where to show up if you, at 1 o'clock, would like to go canoeing on the Sandusky River. So I promised her I'd share that information. There's a poster hung up in the lobby and a whole stack of these out there if anybody wants that information.
Can we put a
So
motor on the canoe? Or we gotta
that
paddle
would
it?
be authentic canoeing. So, all right, we'll begin the new business, and we have bill vouchers and on down the list.
I have bill voucher 60. I have a supplement to the permit appropriations for the Law Library Resources Board Fund 032, putting $1,600 into contract services. I have a resolution authorizing a fund advance from the general fund to the Moving Ohio Forward Fund 073, moving $25,839.50. I have a supplement to the permit appropriations for the Capital Projects Fund 215. This is putting $32,000 into the RTA building line. I have a supplement to the permit appropriations for the general fund. Under the uninsured expense for $15,000. This is due to the January weather claim, the different pipes breaking, job and family, sheriff's office, ANX. A little shy on what we appropriated, so. Bills are coming in. We had originally appropriated 150, and we're looking to clean it all up with the remaining 15.
Okay, and could you explain, this is back in January, we had the pipes freezing and so forth. What was the total cost of that project, and how much of it is insurance covering, and how much are we covering?
We've gotten the total for the sheriff's office. We haven't got the total for job and family services yet. They're still working on what we're gonna be reimbursed for job and family. We've got the $2,500 paid for the sheriff's office. I'd have to check with Tanya just to make sure, but it was covered 100% after our $2,500 deductible. Everything that we submitted for the sheriff's office, they took care of, along with the annex. The only question is with job and family. They're not done with that yet, but we have
When you
to,
say they're not done, the insurance company hasn't determined how much they're gonna reimburse us. How much was the total project at Job and Family? Because there's a portion of that that's gonna be covered by insurance. A
Sure.
portion of that Job and Family was gonna take out of their budget.
right.
And I assume there's gonna be a portion of that, it's gonna be taken out of the county general fund budget.
The only thing that should
That's
be
what I'm
taken
trying
out
to
is
do is-
insurance.
Is what?
Is insurance.
The deductible.
The
deductible.
deductible, okay.
Deductible, yep,
I'm just
for
curious
general
to
fund.
see what that total project is and, because I understand you don't have the figures for the
Yeah.
breakdown yet.
Yeah,
But I mean, that was a fairly large project that they had out there and,
yeah. I'd have to get the breakdown, because like I said, we put 150 in, so if she's asking for more money, she needs additional. So the whole project with 3 buildings has been at least $150,000.
so we're paying it
And they
and then
get,
we're reimbursed for it.
we get
Once we
reimbursed.
have those figures, I'd like to at
yep,
least have an understanding of what that,
amount was,
Yeah,
yep.
all it'll cost us is the deductible,
Yep.
other than the extras we were gonna do on it.
yeah, the Job and Family, but again, they were gonna
Yep,
take that out of their funds and not gonna hit county budget.
Right.
So the county general funds is really just a deductible.
Right.
right.
I'm still curious what the
Sure.
total
Sure.
cost of the project
Yep.
was.
We'll get that for you. I have a supplement to the permit appropriations for the Ohio Peace Officer Training Grant Fund, 152, putting $300 into training. I have an appropriation adjustment with the M&R Fund, 020, moving $22,000 from their Contract Projects Fund to their Contract Services Fund. I have a resolution amending the resolution, journal page 89, journal 89, page 683, authorizing the FY 2014 Airport Improvement Program application to acquire land for approaches, and authorizing Holly M. Stacy, Commissioner, to sign the application and all of the related documentation. The original resolution that we had done, we had pulled the application to rehabilitate the apron, and it should have been the land acquisition. All the paperwork that we signed was correct, just the resolution picked the wrong title, wrong project, so it should be the land acquisition that you had signed, but all the paperwork for the application was correct. Just the resolution needed changed. I have a resolution amending Chapter 3, Section 303, Employment Status, and Chapter 5, Section 5.13, Health Insurance, Seneca County Personnel Policy Manual, working with Ron Burns and John Kroc. This is a subject that was brought up a few years ago and brought up again this year, that currently employees that are considered part-time, working between 21 hours and 29 hours, are eligible for health insurance coverage. The Health Insurance Committee had met and talked about it before, and the commissioners before I talked about it. There's nobody utilizing, well, there's two people on that fall under that category. We have had requests from departments that because they have to keep them under the 21 hours for the insurance to save on benefits. John Kroc and Ron Burns, checking with the insurance, said it's okay if we eliminate that verbiage in the policy manual, that part-time is 29 hours and under, and removing the health insurance offer to that, or what's the word I'm looking for? Option. It just won't be eligible for, the only ones eligible for health insurance is full-time employees.
And full-time is considered anything over 29 hours.
30 hours.
So anything under 30 hours, we don't offer health insurance. Over 30 hours,
Yep.
we give that option to the employee.
Yep. The previous option was the 21 to 29 hours was paid 50%. County paid 50% and the employee paid 50%. And this will allow, like I said, we had a request from a couple departments that they want to hire in. They need more than 21 hours from an employee. But because of that,
Having to make that option available, that it costs them
yep,
potentially.
yep. So I checked with both Ron and John Kroc on those, and that was fine. I have resolution authorizing the agreement with the Ohio Department of Rehabilitation and Corrections subsidy grant for FY 2015 on behalf of the Seneca County Common Pleas Court. I have a resolution approving the agreement between the Seneca County Department of Job and Family Services and the AFSCME, I don't know what they stand for, I know it's a union. ASME, yes. Ohio Council 8 and local number 1685. I have a resolution reestablishing the members to the Seneca County Health Insurance Advisory Board. The old resolution, which was done 5 or 6 years ago, included the payroll clerk, the auditor's office, which now it's a different title. She's Chief Deputy Auditor, would like to be on the committee, and we had added a clerk or a courts designee a few years ago and wasn't done by resolution. So we just wanted to update. So we have county administrator and or designee, a commissioner, one person at large, which is currently Bob Anderson, unless you guys choose to change Bob.
Bob would be good.
And a health commissioner, health and human resources director from the health district, the auditor, chief auditor, a court designee, and then the one bargaining and one non-bargaining represented voted by the employees. And so they did the elections for the bargaining and non-bargaining. So I have a resolution appointing Carolyn Dorn to the Seneca County Health Advisory Board as the bargaining representative for the term commencing June 10th, 2014 and ending December 31st, 2017. And I have a resolution appointing Sharon Skeel to the Seneca County Health Advisory Board as the non-bargaining representative for the term commencing June 10th, 2014, and ending December 31st, 2017.
Does Carolyn Doran work at the sheriff's office?
She is Job and Family.
Job and Family, okay.
That's all the resolutions I have.
I move we approve.
Seconded.
Okay, a motion and a second to approve all the resolutions as presented. Any questions? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Wagner?
Yes.
Commissioner Zoller?
Yes.
Commissioner Stacy?
Yes. We are just a couple of minutes, I suppose that if we can begin or not, we need to wait. We have the bid opening for the CDBG for Bettsville Culvert at 10:30. And one more thing after that, and we're right on top of that. What do you think? Need to wait?
I have, I got a call this morning. AVR is having a meeting on Wednesday at 7 o'clock to, basically a public meeting for their citizens to come in and understand the process of what they're trying to do with the AVR EMS district. So they said if one of the commissioners, all the commissioners would like to attend, that would be
Tomorrow night?
good. Yep, Wednesday night, yep, 7 o'clock.
Okay. I can go. I guess we all can go. It doesn't matter.
I'm not available for-
You're not? Okay.
Yeah, I'm on it.
I'll go. So you can let them know.
Okay.
Is it at the firehouse?
Yes,
Okay.
yep, at the firehouse.
Okay.
Probably have to wait for the bid opening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other you wouldn't have to once the bid opening's done.
Yeah. No, we have 3 minutes. I don't think it'd be enough.
Yeah, probably not.
All right, we do have a bid opening and then 3 minutes, and I don't know that we want to make Richland Engineering, Pat, go in only 3 minutes, so we'll wait and do the bid opening and then go to yours. Is that still okay?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's fine.
Guess we could do citizens' comments if anybody had anything they wanted to do at this time. Bring up. Really quiet, okay. Now, it's only 2 minutes, but.
I guess I can,
Advertise,
updating
please.
on some of the phones.
Sure, yeah, where we at?
Time Warner is working on, we're gonna start working on downtown phones. The first building will be our building, and then we're gonna move just for the phones. We're not doing the network. We're still doing some research on the different types of networks, so it's just gonna be the phones. Bascom Telephone has shown interest in there, get me a quote for the numbers out south of town. That way we can keep some of our business local, but they're working on getting their fiber downtown, and maybe in the future we'll be able to provide that work. And they're even working on maybe being able to get it down here to supply our network, as in our network isn't as big of a hurry as what we are with our phones, because AT&T has thrown us into an out of contract without notice, and it is more than, it's tripled. So we need to get rid of that contract and get out of that contract, so.
Yeah, we need to systematically work away from AT&T
Yep.
and get rid of some lines if we can in the process.
Yeah, there's probably a lot of lines we can get rid of, and there's quite a bit of savings on there, so. And like I said, Bascom's gonna give me a quote for south of town, so.
It's just unbelievable they can do business that way, not even tell you how many lines you have
Yep.
or what all the numbers are, and we're paying for them, so
Yep.
it's just unbelievable.
Yeah, even numbers that aren't ours showing up on our bill, so. A little confusing. Just because it says Seneca County doesn't mean we're paying for it.
Yeah, you might get-
Right.
How are we doing on the spring cleaning project in the annex?
Everything is pretty much done, other than, I sent the quote to the judges for the drapes and the curtains, to see if that's what they wanted done. The scheduling, I actually think that they were supposed to do the second and third floor this weekend, because they had an open, Deluxe was gonna come in and do the carpet washing on the second and third floor, because the first floor was already done. Everything else has been checked off the list, and the last time I seen one of the judges, they were quite pleased, and, even recommended that we keep the new cleaner in their building.
Okay, yeah,
So,
good.
he's been doing actually both courthouses, the juvenile probate building and the annex building, so.
Good.
They seem pretty pleased. I haven't heard anything else on that, so.
Good. But we are at 10:30, so we can have the bid opening for the Bettsville culvert.
I've got a sign-in sheet, but I'm gonna send it around for the bid opening, so if everyone could just sign in, I appreciate it.
Jill, I didn't see you sneak in. Is there any, is there anything you need to say about this other than us starting to?
No.
Okay.
Let's see, this is for the Village of Bettsville culvert replacement for the CDBG FY13. Let's see if I can find the engineer's estimate. Should be at the top. On this one? Engineer's estimate is $87,070. First bid is from, turn the page. It looks like my pronunciation is gonna be bad. Dellinger Excavating out of Monroeville, Ohio. And their bid amount was $73,000.
Jeff, you must be really important. Your name's on here twice and mine's
Yeah, I
on
see
here
that.
at all.
I get two of them, so don't get it.
Okay, this one is from Buckeye Excavating and Construction out of Norwalk, Ohio. Total bid amount, $78,126, 78126.00. And the last one is this is from B Hills Excavating out of Wayne, Ohio. Total bid amount, $75,798, 75798.00. That's all I have.
And that's all of them? Okay. Well, we thank all three of those companies for supplying bids for that culvert work. And those go to Jill, to Mark to review. Is that how that happens? And they'll review them for, make sure everything's there and award, it'll come back to us for awarding. Once it's confirmed, yeah. All right. Thank you for everyone for bidding. We're still a little bit ahead of schedule, but Pat, if you're good with that, we'll let you go ahead with an update on things from Richland Engineering for the airport.
Good morning. Thank you. The reason we prompted this discussion, applications are due for the new FAA grants for, this will be fiscal year 2014. And yeah, there was a little typo in the pre-application. We have to submit a pre-application every fall to the FAA. All that does is allow them to plan for upcoming projects, and that was what you prepared and submitted last year. Those are due at the end of the year. And again, they have there's no commitment on those. You can still not submit an application when you actually come to your project that they go through. All that is for them is to do their planning process. It was on the letter as the apron, which we had done the year before, but on the actual application, that was submitted to FAA, it was to acquire the land for parcel V. So from the FAA standpoint, you were acquiring parcel V still. So at this point in time, where the process is at, we're trying to get the applications submitted. The applications are due no later than July 11th, so we're just trying to get ahead of the game because the purchase agreement is in order. So in the process of getting the purchase agreement, we come here just to talk a little bit about what we are acquiring as far as parcel V. We acquired a couple parcels on that, the south side, I'll call it, of the runway. This parcel is just another parcel on that side. It wasn't originally indicated on the master plan that was prepared 2006 to 2009, but it is a parcel and it is a property that has encroachment into some of the surfaces that are the FAA, we identify with the FAA for protection approaches on the airport. It's not the primary surface and it's not object, everything was out of the object-free area. As you ladies mentioned, there's trees and things on that side of the runway. As things change with the FAA, there's always improvements and always changes to the protection zones and things of that sort. It was in the 7-to-1 transitional surface, which starts at the edge of the primary surface. And I know these are all lots of terminology items or whatever. It was, in fact, you know, and I'll give you just some prints here.
The primary surface is the object-free zone, and then after that you do the
7-to-1.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
exactly. So these are just items. The first one is the FAR 77 surface print that we actually had in the master plan. So it kind of shows how it is arrived at. Here you go.
Oh, thank you.
You know, like I said, it's off the edge. It's off the edge of the runway. It has a 7-to-1. This parcel was, in fact, in that 7-to-1 transitional surface. I'm not sure exactly the thought process at the time when we identified the parcels to be taken. I think the thought maybe was to minimize the number of parcels that we were trying to acquire. It isn't in one of the primary surfaces, but it is a safety approach surface. At this point in time, you know, and as things progress, the FAA changes things and everything, you know, there's surfaces that need to be clear. You know, we have a willing seller. I think that was just kind of how it prompted into the fact that we moved to the fact that it is something that can be done. It is warranted by FAA. You know, we did submit the pre-application. It is something that they've approved. They are aware of it. They're willing to fund this at their 90/10 funding participation. It's just a matter of getting your approval and acceptance of it and submittal of the application at this point in time. The other sheets that I gave you there that attach to this are just to show you the parcel V, that we're talking about, and that it does in fact encroach into that 7-to-1 transitional surface, so that
Are you saying does not?
Does.
Does, okay.
it does. It does encroach into that 7-to-1 transitional surface. That's what these attached drawings depict for you. Just some different depictions. One has the ortho, so you can kind of get an idea of where it's at. The others are just the color ortho, just to kind of give you an indication where it's at, and the other one's just with some contours listed on. So it's basically all the same print, just with some different items and some different layers turned on with it as you go forward. So
At this point in time, are there other properties to be acquired to come into compliance with everything?
I'm not sure that we have. I mean, there's going to be as we grow. There'll be additional parcels that will be in the clear zone areas. At this point in time, I don't know that we have any that we're required to get. I think we have acquired the parcels that we need to get all of our safety areas under your ownership. But as
If the runway would be lengthened or something?
the runway will be lengthened, the safety areas, I mean, you change your airport category, which, you know, allows larger aircraft to come in. Then that's the point where you have your safety areas of change, and then there'll be some acquisitions that are required. Or if there's a change in the safety area designations that the FAA has, or things that they do, and it, you know, as everything becomes more instrument related and everything becomes more technology related, all these things are more identifiable, when they do their flight checks and things. And so those are the obstructions that come in. Those are things that make restrictions on the approaches and make restrictions, and we don't want to make the runway shorter, because we have a displaced threshold or something because there's obstructions. So, it's always important to keep things clear and not let something new, I guess, what happens sometimes in some instances where something new comes in and becomes a problem as you move forward, so.
And at what point do we, and maybe this is more of a question for Brad, do we do an update to the master plan so we, kind of know the direct, I'm just curious, because you mentioned 2006, 2009, and there's been some adjustments to that,
It's a 20-year plan,
yeah.
and we kind of do a 5-year fiscal year look,
Capital improvement plan.
capital improvement. And if you look on page 2 where the Tice property's at, there's some trees to the southwest of it going down the runway that are in the next property owners. And we have not approached, not done anything, but they are in the transitional zone, and once they get above about 16 foot tall. So we're gonna have to address trimming the tops and then let it go, or in the home situation, it just came up available. So this is how it transpired. So the Tice property came up available with a willing seller. She said, Brad, we know you need some of the trees of my lot, and so this is how it transpired. Will there be more? I would think the next one down has some tree issues.
Right.
And I'm technically supposed to put a pole up with a red light at the top of the trees right on the property line. And nobody really wants, that's kind of an objectionable thing. And we discussed that at all the meetings. And I'm just trying to acquire things as they came available. We didn't have willing participants for the Tice property when the
Other parcels were
when the
acquired.
other parcels were acquired. In fact, it was an objectionable thing. So, and now all of a sudden it became appropriately acquirable with, with their side, so.
So 2006, 2009 was the last study that was done on a 20-year plan. And so if we look at revising that every 5 years, it's really kind of time to now look at.
The capital improvement is usually, and if there's something else that's changed, if there's, new type aircraft that are wanting to come, some reason, a business that wants to have, base their aircraft or bring their aircraft in for some kind of economic business in the community, that'll be a reason to prompt some reason to update the master plan or the ALP. It is a 20-year master plan, which is a large study that goes in, and a large effort that goes into it. Every 10 years, usually the FAA recommends updating the airport layout plan, which is, what the documents are that everyone looks at. And there's things that change. Sometimes there's safety areas that's changed. Sometimes there's development areas that have changed. And sometimes it's a matter of the development at the airport. There might be needs to be some areas that need to be developed, put more hangars in and things of that sort. So, these things are planning tools for yourself and also for the FAA to kind of plan themselves to know, hey, what's on the horizon. If, Brad calls or we call or we talk about it, they can pull this out and look and see, put some eyes on the ground to see what's going on. And, in the past, FAA program managers used to come out to the site a lot. They used to travel, and their budgets have been cut way back. So a lot of times, many of them don't even have opportunity to get to some of these sites. So these become their ways to get eyes on the ground to see exactly what's going on at the airport facility.
Because this issue has been contested, with the neighbors and stuff, I strongly recommend that we try to have a public hearing to update the landowners in that area. I know, Brad, you and I have spoken about that, and my suggestion, either FAA or Richland Engineering, so we can kind of bring in the neighbors around there, show them, because right away they're saying, well, Jesus, what we've done, and now all of a sudden we're taking another parcel. So what I kind of understand is what's happened, like for the Tice property, is they were borderline before, but kind of the laws have changed a little bit, and now well, that's not the case.
No, their trees are just at 16.9 and they transition through that.
Okay, so the trees have grown up since the initial,
Well, I think they were there before. It was in it, and we fought the hard battles first. And that was along coming across
Yeah.
224.
The approach, right?
Coming across, and as further we get down the approach, they're not, and I won't say it's critical, but they weren't the battle to be fought at the moment. You know, they weren't the tough ones that the county was really in violation of.
Yeah, I think if the word was just known that this is the last house that is in any sort of zone, there's just a few trees now that are, am I correct in saying that? There's no more,
Did her trans,
Even the next parcel, I mean, it would be close to look at the next parcel that heading further to the east.
there may be a home in that.
There may be some more acquisition that may be necessary or whatever. And like I said, at this point, and at that point when we were doing the master plan, I think, like I said, we went to the critical areas and identified it and said, this is where we're at and this is what we're going to, forge forward with acquisition. So
We just tend to see things in black and white. I mean, either it's it's in the zone or it's not in the zone. Is it in a violation, the next home, or not?
the trees are.
the trees are,
And how do you acquire somebody's property for the trees?
How do you acquire the trees
We
without
went around this.
devaluing their home?
The other one, and evaluate or devaluate or
Yeah.
reevaluate their home less that acreage.
Okay.
it's a difficult situation and even complicate the situation is you've got the neighbors out there that built in the woods. They want to be in the woods. And now all of a sudden, we're taking the woods down. So, and so if I'm a homeowner out there, do I invest in my property or not? Am I gonna fall within within the gray area and so forth? So again, I strongly recommend, since this is kind of a difficult issue, we need to educate the landowners out there. And what we know today, where kind of the grand plan is at. And we're realizing that plan may change if FAA puts different rules and different regulations on it. But instead of button heads and fighting each process, I think if we bring them into this whole process, and very simply, what kind of aircraft do we feel, and Brad, do you feel that we need to bring into this area, into the airport, that will help economic growth and development and is going to be utilized by businesses and so forth? Once we have those aircraft established, okay, to bring those aircraft in, those specific ones, what kind of regulations do we have for, if it's a little single engine, one-seater plane, that's going to have one requirement. If it's a 747, I know I'm being facetious here, that it's another kind of requirement. So I think we need to hit that point of what we all feel is needed in this area, to bring the aircraft in. And then once we agree that, okay, yeah, this is the kind of aircraft that will help economic development and growth in this area. Okay, now what's the space that's needed as of today? Everyone understands it. So if I'm into that area, if I'm a landowner, then I look at it from an investment standpoint. Do I want to go ahead and remodel my basement, remodel my bathroom, do all those things, but realizing in 10 years or 5 years, I'm falling within a period that they're probably going to acquire my house, and we're going to have to take it over in time. So that's going to change the whole aspect of what kind of money, what kind of investments I'm going to put in my house. And I've heard that complaint, and I think the way to resolve it is to have this meeting so everybody understands where they stand at.
But they're all clear, though. If you go down the line, the next home is the only other, the trees are the only other issue
from the runway
Yeah.
standpoint.
from the runway
But
standpoint.
again, realizing I built a home, if I'm a landowner, I built a home in the woods. And now all of a sudden I'm not in the woods. And the value of my property, because I built it in the woods. All I'm trying to do is educate. I'm certainly for economic development. I'm for things that's gonna help promote this area. I just think we need to bring the residents in with it. And realizing what we set today, if FAA changes the regulations, it may change tomorrow. But we put everyone's on the same page.
This would have been a good meeting to do that in. We just did a poor job of advertising to the public it was gonna happen, so.
I mean, what you mentioned there is exactly what a master plan does, is identifies the aircraft that are intended or planned to be coming in here. And, you know, things always change, obviously. I mean, that's why we have the existing airport layout plan in here, and we have a future airport layout plan. And that's exactly what components are compiled in there. And the public input process, you know, and I wasn't a part of it, I'm assuming it was here at a board meeting here.
It
that-
was out at, yeah, we had 3 public open meetings in the evening. The state of Ohio came up, the FAA came down from Detroit 3 times, and the public was all invited, and we heard everybody's comments. And we had the category of aircraft that we still don't see any change. It was C.
We got B2
B2.
listed on there, which is a 4,400-foot runway, so.
It's a 4,400-foot runway.
What would,
But the residents were all taken by surprise. Now, maybe they were informed because this was before my time. They were taken by surprise when all of a sudden we had to take more trees down. Now, was that part of the master plan and they knew it and they just forgot about it? Or was that part of the master plan that they didn't understand?
Well, probably was in the 7-to-1, and of course, as they grow,
As I grow.
we had the choice of either take them out or trim them and go back and trim them again.
So again, my recommendation is that it's obvious with the Tice property, it's not being contested. That's pretty simple. We can go forward, the grant's out there, we can approve it, we can move forward. But looking at fast forwarding it and bringing the neighbors in again, because it is such a concern to them. Again, I'm coming back, if I build in the woods, I want to be in the woods.
Well, they should probably own it then.
Pardon?
We gotta look at what they own, and
Yeah.
we're not trying to take, all the people that are contesting it aren't an issue.
Explain it.
But
And part of those trees are not on their property. They reap the benefits of being a benefactor of that depth of the woods that isn't theirs, is what you're saying.
what if we tried to
Valid
do
point.
something positive, we just had an open house somewhere, say at the airport had an open house, and you could be there to answer
Sure.
questions, and people could take a little tour of the building or the property and make a positive thing out of it. People would get their questions answered by the experts, and wouldn't be a
Yeah.
formal meeting, but just be an open house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Richland Engineering to be there to explain the laws. If FAA can be there, you know, who knows if they can do it or not, but you guys can certainly recite the laws. We have pictures of what it is, and this is what the law is today, and this is what we're doing, and you're right, if they don't own the land, we're not taking trees down on land that isn't owned by either the county or by you personally.
Or if we are, they're treated properly.
Compensated.
And everybody has, I think if you talk to any of them, they were treated properly.
I think that's a decent option. We could just schedule that sometime out at the airport, and people could come in that don't even care about that, just want to see the airport, maybe, and
Sure.
and
And have it, and make sure that they understand what B2 really means, because that hasn't actually changed. It's a 400-foot extension on the runway. And that's, but I think the FAA's concern is, Brad, take care of all your we're down to small problems
Right.
in the big picture. Take care of all your small problems, then we'll proceed. But they don't want to proceed and have problems that are restrictions. So we've almost have all the problems resolved, which has been a lifetime for me to do that.
And I think the board is very supportive of the airport. Tremendous boost for economic development. You don't have to look very far to Huron County or Sandusky County and see big problems with county-owned airports, and we don't have that. So we're very appreciative of the airport. Communication's good with all the neighbors, and if we can help facilitate a little of that That would be good.
If it, my only request would be that it gets somehow controlled where, why don't you move the airport? Those questions are, they're beyond,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
we can't, they're not answerable, really. I mean, we're too far.
Have you ever been to like one of ODOT's open houses where they're talking about a bypass or something? They'll have little stations, and you can just come around and say, hey, I got a question about this, and it's not even really doesn't give somebody a
open
mic,
house.
doesn't give somebody a
not.
microphone to
That's
say.
You talk about public hearing, that's
what
where public hearings are. Someone gets up and says, open houses are, here's a lot of displays, exhibits, and if you got questions about a particular item, then we can, kind of address them at that point in time, so.
I'm very much in favor. You're right, we don't want people up there and saying, well, move the airport. No, that's not an option. You're an employer, a contributor to the county, and one heck of an asset.
If we could just, an open house at the airport would be fine. It's visual. You could look over there, we could walk over there, we could do whatever and say, here's what we're seeing and here's what needs to be done. And the next property owner, if he sees his trees are a problem, maybe the trees are all that he cares. I still want to live there because there are people that say, doesn't bother me a bit. And we got people that say the noise could increase, and those are all things that are and will happen.
This is not a gripe session, it's an informative session.
And somebody might come that wants to
Getting
take
it.
flying lessons or something,
Sure.
might be totally unrelated to.
But the best part to do it would probably be out at the airport where they can visually see, and if they have to walk, and if we had a flag over there that say, here's the 300-foot line, and everything above 15 feet or whatever, that it has to be taken down, and it'll probably just skim their roof line is what I
Yeah,
have.
that's a good point, of have flags, and like different color flags, that this one's a completely free zone,
And
the
then from
next.
here on, it affects nobody,
Yep, yep.
except for what the
Under-
airport generates.
Under current,
Yeah.
right, and that's, we have to make sure to state it, under current regulations, because they may change.
Pat, if you and I go back, they came into effect in about 75, the regulations, basically.
Some of the runway protection zones have changed, though. They've increased those over time or whatever. So, I mean, they haven't been like a currently occurring changes or whatever, but they've modified some of them or what, and some of them have become focus points or whatever as they went forward, so.
And I think when they say B2, if they decide to make any changes, they gotta look at how many airports are B2, and if you can't comply, I mean, they just can't, I don't think there's a lot of changes. I think it's gonna be another lifetime if they decide to change anything except some small, I mean, they can't do what they did in the 70s when they built airports, then we got regulations later, and it just, things got approved by zoning and local people, which is fine, and because there were no rules, and if I want to live close to the airport, and pretty soon they were too close.
Brad, I would recommend, as Commissioner Wagner did, to coordinate with the commissioners and have an open house.
Probably be an evening would be appropriate, where you can get
Sure.
people that are
So working, and where they can
working
come
and they
there.
can participate then an evening.
And perhaps if Richland Engineering could be there
Yeah.
with some diagrams, so forth. I like the flag thing. I don't know if anyone would need to be there from FAA or not. That's, with the budget cuts and so forth, that may be a little more difficult, but I think with you two and,
It's possible to bring the state up.
Yeah, they might.
They might come out the state.
Yeah.
Okay. We can be there.
yep. So just coordinate that with the Commissioner's office, with Administrator and.
July, August?
Yeah, I would
Weather's
think.
good.
I would
Yeah,
think,
the
yeah.
weather's
In
good.
the evening, 7
7-ish.
o'clock till 9 kind of thing, and little presentation, and just to inform the residents, this is the regulations, this is the laws, this is what we're doing, this is what we need to do to be compliant.
And I think they need to know where the money's coming from.
Yeah.
It comes out of our fuel tax and every airline ticket that the appropriate people buy, and they pay a FET tax. That's only to improve airports. And I really feel Seneca County's entitled, because of all the people that buy airline tickets, all the gallons of fuel we pump out there, to get some of that money back that has been taken out of the community.
Yeah, this is a user fee type thing. Yeah, people that use the fuel for aviation and use the airline, buy the airline tickets, one's paying for it.
And it might as well come back to Seneca County as well as be in Cuyahoga County or wherever. And they'll get benefit of all the airline fees that come out of Seneca County. And we have been very fortunate. The FAA's been very good to us. We've had other counties give Seneca County their funding because there was no participation, no 20-year master plan, no 5-year update plan, and we've stayed the course.
Yeah.
I mean, it to be said that Seneca County has got one of the best FBOs, not only Northwest Ohio, but in this part of the country. They're very progressive. It's a definite plus for Seneca County. There's some of the counties around us have shut their airports down because it's too much of a drain on the county budget, where ours is not a drain on the county budget. It's actually, it's a contributing taxpayer.
Okay,
We'll coordinate a meeting.
Okay.
sounds good.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And I'll give you a couple of dates and we'll see when you folks are available. The
Okay.
state, they're pretty flexible in the summer. I know they'll fly up or do something.
Yeah.
Right,
Okay,
thanks.
thank you.
Thank you. Easy peasy.
So will we go ahead and proceed with the
I've
type
got
that-
some resolutions.
Okay.
If the board's wanting to proceed with.
Yes, we can move to those.
The only question I had is, are we gonna need to appropriate more funds? Is this building gonna have to come down? Or is that included in the price? Oh, okay,
Just
No.
the acquisition.
okay.
But I think we can,
We got some.
we got.
We have to see.
We've got
Okay,
some,
okay.
see, but there's, between the state and some other money from the FAA, I think we can make it pristine like the rest of the,
Okay.
Let me ask you this, if we own it, then we can cut the trees down. Is the house actually within the restricted area, or is it the trees?
the trees.
Well, why would we tear the house down? Once we own it, we could tear the trees down, then sell the house. I mean, is that an option?
Well, you could resurvey the lot and sell the house and.
Yeah.
The problem is that if we get it, so they sell it to somebody and they end up complaining in 5 years, what did we gain?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, they could only complain.
They shouldn't be able to.
Yeah,
but
but-
I understand that, but the voice gets loud enough that it,
I'd like to entertain it versus tearing down a perfectly good house. I understand now you can't do it because the trees are in the way, so we'd have to, I just
If we sell
think
it for
there's other
50,
options.
if we sell it for 50, does 90% of that go back to the grantee? Or do we get all the money?
I'm not sure that we,
have an option at this point.
yeah, I think that, I'm gonna have to see how that works with that, once you acquire it, if you have to, if that's, I mean, it's in a part of the appraised value or whatever, so we may have to remove it, so.
I would like to investigate that. I hear what you're saying, Brad, but, if it falls outside of the.
But if they can't ever put any trees at the site, we had a few people that their patios were the issue. It went up to their patios, so how do you?
I mean, that's a little.
We can investigate it and see where the line is exactly.
Yeah, I mean, if you're right, if it comes right up to the, the east fouling of the house.
Right.
Now that, but if it's just the trees in their backyard, then there's still sufficient backyard left, as long as, if it would be resold with a deed restriction on there not to plant in that area, I mean, that may be a consideration that.
Yeah.
All right, you have.
Yes, I do. I have a resolution authorizing Richland Engineering to prepare and submit the grant application for the acquisition for the Tice property on behalf of the Seneca County Airport. I have a resolution authorizing the real estate purchase agreement for the Tice property on behalf of the Seneca County Airport. I have a supplement to the permit appropriation for the general fund. This is putting $312,000 into land acquisition. And again, like he said, you're gonna have 90%. Let me find the numbers, I just had them. our cost is $31,200 and the rest is, from the FAA, yes.
That's the 10%.
That's the 10%, so, but we pay for the whole thing and then we get reimbursed. So that's why it's the 312,000. And those are the only ones I got.
I move we approve.
Seconded.
A motion and a second to approve these resolutions just as presented. Any questions? Okay, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Wagner?
Yes.
Commissioner Zoller?
Yes.
Commissioner Stacy?
Yes. Resolutions stand approved. That concludes our business on our agenda and then some. We called for it before, but I'll ask again, anything else for citizen comments at this time? Seeing none, a motion to adjourn.
I move.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded to adjourn, we stand adjourned, thank you.